How's it going, boys? What's a crack a day? We'll be starting a new Let's Play series today of Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. We'll be starting a new game today where we'll be jumping in and starting looking at the new updates that have come out with like nuclear power and stuff like that. We'll probably start off with that since this newest thing in the game, and we'll get cracking. If you're new to this, it'll be kind of like it won't be a tutorial series, but we'll go in depth of all the different aspects of the game and stuff like that. But to start off with, we'll be going to the Eastern Europe Medium Hills map, the populated version, because I like having the towns already placed on the map. I find it's easier to work around and means we don't have to start from absolute scratch. So we'll be going into this. I'll be starting the population just over half. What will happen is there'll be towns spread out all over the map, and if you don't do anything to the map, everybody will just try and escape your country because they don't have any food, they don't have any luxuries or anything like that. So they'll just be like, "Screw this! I'm out of here," and run to the border and just run for the hills. So we'll start off with a medium sort of population, so we don't have to pay for a population when we come in. It also, in my mind, is a little bit more realistic. If you are a governor of this partition of the Soviet Union or a Soviet bloc country, then you wouldn't just get given a partition that's got no people in it. So it makes it more realistic, at least in my head. We'll start basically on, well, we'll select hard to start off with, but we'll make our own custom difficulty. We'll start on medium money, and we'll take loans if we need more. If you start on hard, you only get like 1,000,000 rubles, and again, if you're given a country with 1,000,000 rubles, there's something far wrong. So we'll start on medium money amount. We'll unsatisfied citizens' reaction we'll put on hardest. It basically just means if citizens don't get what they need, they'll react very negatively, which is understandable, so we'll keep on that. Energy management, we want fuel and power. We need both of them. Makes the game better. Enable the day-night cycle. We'll turn the building fires from frequent to normal, because I don't fancy constantly trying to put out building fires. We'll put all the stuff in place so that if fires do happen, we can put them out. Global events aren't a thing in the game right now. That'll be brilliant when they come in. And we'll enable pollution. We'll start in 1960, the earliest year. Lock the vehicles according to year. And the education system we'll put on complex. Which makes the game just a little bit more realistic and fun, more fun to play. So we will start a game at this. If you want to name this country, stick it down into the comments, and we might give our Soviet Republic a name. For right now, we'll just call it our Soviet Republic. And as this loads up, doesn't take long. We'll get stuck right in. Now, this is probably one of the best city building games, most enjoyable anyway, that I've found so far. It takes a lot, it's almost like you get Factorio vibes built into City Builder. City Skylines tried to do this when they added the industrial DLC to it, but just wasn't quite the same. This is a lot more in depth, a lot more into citizens' needs and how you can micromanage and control each one of them. Now this is still loading. So basically the idea is you're a Soviet bloc country that's partitioned off. Now that we're loaded in, I can show you. So you've got the map, and on the minimap, I'll bring up the minimap as well so you can see. It's quite a large map. It's actually quite a sizable map. And all my playthroughs that I've done privately, I've never been able to fill anything near the size of this map. But that'll be our goal in this Let's Play. We'll be building and building and building. But we're basically partitioned off between the NATO members, which occupy two sides of the square of this map, and the Soviet members, who occupy the other two members of this map. And you've got border crossings all along these, which we'll be hooking up to eventually. Now, at these border crossings, you can buy and sell resources, sell resources, and you can also buy and sell energy. You can do this for the Soviet countries, and you can do this for the NATO countries as well. In turn, it'll give you rubles if you sell it to the Soviets, and dollars if you get it to the NATO members. But we won't be giving any money to these capitalist scum. We'll probably spend this million and forget about it, seeing as we are a Communist society. What I'll be doing to start off this Let's Play series is we'll be picking a city. Where is she? A city that I cannot pronounce, but I'll find it. This one. Leshy. Say it in a Russian accent. Leshy. I don't know how to say that, but anyway, this will be our center to where we start building, and we will basically, all these citizens, I'll pause the game, all these citizens that live in this town who have no food, no work, no anything, are going to get the glorious respect of us, and we'll start getting their town and city built up. Also, handily, if you go down here into the minimap, you'll see the coal, iron, oil, and uranium, which has just been added. There's uranium close by, there's oil close by, there's iron close by, and there's coal close by to this city. So we can basically build up quite a lot of our resource infrastructure here, which is handy, and it allows us to utilize the populace as workers to progress our resource creating capabilities. So all these hundreds of people that live here will get shoved down into mines and dig out the uranium to eventually create nuclear fuel to power a power plant, which will be what we'll be doing first. We'll be doing that first as our starting resource. Power is always something, as you get further down the game, it starts becoming very expensive if you don't create it yourself. And in my private playthroughs, I've created so many coal related industries, it hurts my brain. So we'll be starting off with a new uranium industry and nuclear power plants. So to start off, we have uranium here. What we'll be doing is, if you go down to the energy related industries, we have our twin nuclear reactor, which we'll be building. It basically looks identical to the Chernobyl reactors. Was it 1, 2, and 3 or something like that? I can't mind. We'll be building uranium mines, which digs out the uranium ore, then takes it to uranium oxide, UF6 atoms, and then which produces that into nuclear fuel. We will eventually need to build chemical industries, but that'll come later down the line because you have to research them through universities and to create them. So we'll be importing that to start off with. So to start off with, our nuclear or uranium can be digged from here. So what we'll do is we'll flatten this area. Now I am OCD as anything, so I'll be flattening areas, I'll be trying to make them look as nice as possible. My roads will line up to what's acceptable of a Eastern European styled architecture town, in my opinion anyway. So although that might look horrendous just now, we will flatten it off, put some trees around it, and it'll look absolutely gorgeous by the end of it. So to start off, we need a new uranium mine. I think I'm just going to put down one for just now. One's enough. I'm going to build up this industry and basically get this industry up and running, take the workers from this town here, and after I've done that, I will build up this town, and I'll build up Brospanye, I'll build up this town as well to basically sustain these two industries and give these give this population a reason to stay in the country. So I'll be doing that after. So now that I've got the uranium mine set up, we'll put down a road out of it, a nice straightish road. And we'll be taking the workers up to this point by cable car. That's what we'll be doing for this mine here. So we'll be putting down a big cableway station, which needs to be facing the opposite direction. Now, one thing that annoyed me for a long time in this game is if you rotate your mouse, the building doesn't quite line up with what you want it to line up with. But if you sort of give it a wee sort of spin on your mouse button, you can get it to line up perfectly. I think it's just because the way that the game works and the way that mouse wheels work, at least my mouse wheel, is my mouse, there we go, that's it lined up perfectly now. My mouse wheel doesn't almost runs in increments, and the game picks up those as increments, but you can be sort of halfway in between an increment and it doesn't line up the building perfectly with what you want to line it up with. So if you mess about with it for a while, you can get things perfectly lined up. Now, what I'll do for this playthrough series is I will start off releasing unedited, basically full videos of me playing the game. If you guys think that I should edit them up so that rather than watching me spin the mouse wheel for 40 minutes, you can see the end products. I can walk you through the end product, and you can see it essentially cut up like that. So just up to you. I'll start off unedited at first, and if you want me to edit up, I can do. I think some people might want to see just exactly how I actually place things to make it look nice, because I've seen some people trying to make nice looking towns and it just looks awful, absolutely awful. So now that I've got basically those two cable car stations set up, I'll set up the poles in a second. I want to set up a uranium processing plant at the Rozbanye. So we will flatten the land just, what was that, sort of northeast of this town. It's a nice big bit of land. What we'll probably do is we have one uranium mine there. I'll probably stick down 2 uranium processing plants. As a trial and error, you seem to get a lot of ore, and the processing plants run quite slowly, especially at the start when you don't have them full of workers. So I'll just flatten this area. There we go. And I'll put down the plants. So what I'll do is I'll line up them just roughly with that road. Not everything's going to be perfect in this playthrough series. It's just, like I say, it's going to be sort of as close as I think Eastern European town planning and architecture would be. So, get them sorted out. I'll also need warehouses, because all the uranium oxide that will be taken from these processing plants, I'll be wanting to put to a rail line. Reason being is that if we ever expand this in the future, I would like the ability to essentially add it to a rail network and take it away like that. So add one there and there. So these inputs and outputs, what you can see on here with the yellow arrows into the open storage medium thing that I've got selected, those are basically direct links to the business to the industry, so that they can send it directly to them. You can make those inputs and outputs longer by adding forklifts, but if you just connect them directly to the industry, it means that you don't need forklifts for it. So now that those are hooked up, I will have conveyor belts that I will connect to them. And basically we're going to conveyor all the uranium ore down to these two processing plants. So again, this is how I line up my conveyor belts. So I just put those two lines together, see that they're lined up, and that gives me a perfect line. Just makes everything look about a million times better. So I'll put one there. Now I'll need one sort of like this, and I will put this one like, how are we gonna do it? Probably something like this. Line this up again with here, and as you can see, it doesn't quite want to line up, but I'm going to line it up perfectly, because sometimes I find the easiest way is if you spin it right the way around, it'll do what you want, just like that. So turn around there, and like that, flatten the ground, boom, done. Now hopefully I should be able to get a road in there, but we'll see in a second. But we'll continue this conveyor belt up the hill to the uranium mine, which is just about there. So we'll put one here maybe, and one just slightly off about here. There we go. So now everything that they produce in this mine come down the conveyor belts. I'll get to this conveyor belt and it'll split it between the two factories. It doesn't split equally, but this uranium will fill up these factories, no bother at all. At least from what I can tell, it doesn't usually split them equally. Now what I'll do is I'll put in the roads for these things. Hopefully I can actually get a road out here. Yes, I can. This is brilliant. I didn't think I would be able to. I thought it was going to be finicky. But I will also need to get a road. Ah, that worked easily as well. Usually these things can be a little bit pernickety. The easiest way I've found as well is when you're adding roads to industry or to anything. If you build a town first, or if you do this industries first, if you do the roads after, it makes it a whole lot easier. A whole lot easier. It can be an absolute nightmare trying to build things against roads in this game, which is fine once you get used to it, but flatten that off. And all these conveyor belts, I'll need to add roads to them, but I will do that off camera, because that's just absolutely horrendous to watch. I also need to add this road. I'll put it along here, I think, to here. And I've put no street lights on that, just for aesthetic purposes. So that's them connected to the railway, connected to the uranium mine. Now what we'll do is we'll probably do the conveyor belts. What's it called? Cable car. Easy for me to say, like, cableway conveyor belt. Holy shit. The conveyor belt. We'll put this thing from there to air. That's what we'll do. Now, the one thing in this game is that the cable car cables don't quite go as far as you want them, and if I did put one over here, I would need to raise it up massively on a hill, and it would just droop down and look horrendous. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a wee island in this, and it'll look awful to start off with, but after we sort it, it'll look no bad. So put a wee island. As I said, it'll look absolutely horrendous just now, but don't worry, we will make it look a lot better, and then that allows us to have a nice uh, cable car line over there again. It also won't be like one of the cable cars, or at least cable cars I'm used to as well, that is going straight up a mountain. It is there because it's going to go cross country, and easiest way possible. What's that saying? Angle of connection is too sharp. There we go. There. One, two, there. I didn't actually set down because I need to flat the land. I have a wee bit of a meandering cable car track, and again, all these need to be connected up by roads, which I'll do off camera. They need to be connected to roads essentially because cable car towers can supposedly catch fire, so they need to be connected, which is fine. We'll just be able to do that. Now from here, I'll take one down, which I probably will be able to get. That's cool. There we go. And another one there. We'll also delete this road, and we'll put it back underneath after. Like I say, it's easier to put roads down after you've built things than before, for reasons. There we go. There we go. We're getting towards where we want to be now, which is cool. Nice. And the last one. Boom. So when we let this build, now because I've been building with a time stopped, you'll see everything's built in yellow. Eventually what you can do is, once you build up all your industries and everything like that, you can have construction offices, which means your workers can create all these buildings with your own resources that you've mined, essentially for free. So you can make a communist society where nothing costs money. The only way you get money is by exporting things. So essentially you don't even have to export. You could just sit and have a self-sustaining society, which is the ultimate goal in this game, and it's a very long way off getting anywhere near that. So if we can get power sorted in the next couple of episodes, that'll be a victory. But anyway, so now that we've got those cable car lines up, we will then put a pathway for this cable car station to here. That allows them to walk from the cable car station to the mine, and we'll need to connect up this as well. Now this town is going to get a bit of a rework. I might do this off camera. I'm going to empty out all these wee townhouses because this is going to be a big city. I'm going to empty out all these wee houses, and I'm going to add in a huge transport network. The transport network will do on the videos, but these houses I'll need to empty out them all out of people and do that. So it's going to be a bit tedious. For just now though, we are going to take a road off this, just rough as anything. Add it to this road, just roughly, and we'll put a path over here. Again, this is rough as anything. So when you'll look at this now, what I'll do is I'll play time, allow some of these stuff to build up. As you can see, it all goes fast forwarding, building everything. Let some of this stuff get built. All our rubles are getting hammered. I think I'm going to switch over to dollars and build everything with dollars in a second, so that we don't waste our precious rubles. There we go. So it's connected. Like I say, this looks horrendous, but we'll fix this. We'll make the river bend around it, and we'll make it look smashing. So now when we look at our cable car office and we look at the buildings that can be reached on foot, all these buildings over here can be reached by foot, which means everybody in this portion of the city can go up that mine. But we'll now see that building was without a power supply, and the second building was out of power supply. All of this is basically out of power, so we'll need to add that in. How we do that for the start of the game before we make our power plant is we'll come over to the border and we'll take high voltage lines. We'll just take 15 megawatt ones out. This is in the new update where we have all these different types of high voltage wires, which is going to be fun when we actually get our nuclear industry up and running and we have a huge amount of power coming out. But what we'll do is we'll run these high power voltage lines right across to the area that we're working in. And what I like doing is getting all the power roughly set up out around where I'm working, and then as we grow and build, we'll dress in all the cables nicely. It'd be really good if this game had underground power lines, because it is kind of odd seeing basically these like medium high voltage wires coming into cities. It's kind of strange seeing that. Maybe you do see that in Eastern Europe, I don't know. But it would be cool to see like buried cable, underground high voltage cables or something like that, or at least not high voltage but medium voltage. So what I like doing is like putting power transformers just around the outskirts, and then we'll make them nice, neat, and like properly in our town planning, like eventually later on. So I'll put one down for the city. I'll put one down way up here for the mines. Now, the other good thing about this mined place here is that there is uranium here, but there's also a lot of iron ore, which means that we can have a good few iron mines up here doing steel industries as well. So have one there, and we'll have one over here for the Rozbanie town. We'll also put high voltage power switches. This basically allows us to split our high power voltage lines into two, so that we can basically have a junction in them. So when we run these high power voltage lines over, we can take it in one end, split our power transformer, and then run it to each one. We'll do there. It's across, and like I say, this is just rough to start off, get us up and running, and get everything working. So now we need substations. Now what the substations do is they bring the power to the local area. So we'll put a substation down for the outskirts of this city. For just now, all we need to do is power this side, because they'll be going to the cable car. It also needs to power the cable car, which it does not, so we'll also put another one down here. Put one up at the top of the hill for the mine and for the cable car. And because we'll just stick it down roughly for the moment, and we'll put another one down at Rozbanie. Now, if anybody could tell me the pronunciation for that town, that'd be ace, because I have no idea how to pronounce that. Then we'll just take medium voltage wires over. What I'll do as well is the medium voltage wires, you can get all different types. I'll put them down as the highest to start off with, and then once I've properly dressed them into the town, if I find that one district of the town needs only 1.2 megawatts, then we'll make the voltage wires the lower megawatt rated versions. That way we're fine at the start, we know everything's going to work, we don't have any power fluctuations, and it means that later down the line when we change them all up, we can get nice variation in how the town actually looks, or how the districts actually look. So that's everything hooked up to the power now. If we play that and see all the lines getting built, there we go. But we're still getting no power, so we need to go to the border and we need to buy or import, and we'll just take in 5 megawatts of power. That all pumps up now. That's all we'll need to start off with. Come over here and we have power. Happy days. We'll also need cable cars for the cable car line. So we'll come over here and we'll get some cable cars. Now, unbeknownst to me, this was a learning curve that I had myself. Um, Cable cars were originally built for transporting cargo. Quite often, what they did was they put on mines and they mined out stuff up the hill, and they sent all the resources down by cable car. Now, I didn't know that. I've only cable cars I've ever seen are for passengers, so that blew my mind a wee bit. But if you look up cable cars that do this, there's still ones that do it to this day. There's examples in Jamaica of coal mines where they dig up all the resources, put in these hoppers, slide them down the cable cars, and at the bottom of the cable car station, they have a brake station, which basically all that braking energy, because they're sending heavy loads of coal down and empty wagons back up, that braking energy they use to power the nearby towns. So it's quite interesting, something that actually did blow my mind. But what we'll do is we'll buy just heavy personal cabins. These are gorgeous things. There we go. Fill them up. And we'll turn the cableway on, and that'll just get to work, basically sending cable cars up and down this hill, bringing people across the river and up to their jobs. Be quite smart getting a cable car to my work, although it wouldn't be smart working down a uranium mine, but here, you gotta take some to win some, take some and lose some, I suppose. So, now what we'll do, these uranium processing plants, they require engineers and workers, and this wee town is not big enough to supply the industry that we've got here, so we're going to make this bigger. The other thing that we're going to do is try and decide where we're going to put our conversion plants, our uranium conversion plants, which takes that uranium oxide and chemicals and creates UF6 molecules or atoms, or it'll be, I guess it'll be atoms, I suppose. Yeah, it will be atoms. And we'll have the nuclear fuel fabrication. Now, when I did this on my private, I also streamed a stream a bit ago. I put all of these down with the nuclear reactor. It makes it look like a big complex, has all these things bundled in together. So I think that's what we're going to do as well. And we're going to build it right here on this big open place. We'll flatten this all out, put our nuclear reactor down, or two nuclear reactors because it's a twin one, and we'll put our nuclear fabrication and nuclear fuel fabrication, and we'll just revitalise the area of Brazbanye and add in the the nuclear reactor for Brazbanye. So that's what we'll do. So starting off, we'll flatten the land, as we usually do. This is going to be a staple for this Let's Play series, flattening land. Now you can do this for free. You can build a construction office, you can put bulldozers in, which will dig out this land for the cost of fuel. If you've got fuel refineries and all the oil set up, you can essentially just do it for free. But we don't have that set up just now, so we will just pay for it with dollars, not rubles. We will probably be loaning a lot of money in this playthrough as well, but we'll see. Maybe once we get the nuclear power station up, we might have a decent income. But we'll flatten all this out, and we'll add all the trees back in after to make everything look all smart and sexy. So that'll almost be big enough. There we go. That'll be big enough just now for our twin nuclear reactor. We'll need cooling towers. What I would love is if they added to the game is if they added for the nuclear reactor, instead of using cooling towers, to use a pond, like essentially internal to the building. I grew up next to a nuclear reactor. It used recycled seawater to cool the reactor, which when I saw like the likes of SimCity and City Skylines and that, and you placed in a nuclear reactor and it had cooling towers, I've never seen a nuclear reactor with cooling towers, so I was wondering what the hell that was about. The only power plants I've ever seen with a cooling tower are like coal power plants or gas power plants and stuff like that. So it's quite an alien thing to me. It's really strange as well when you when you actually do see it. Well, at least for me, it was anyway. So it would be cool if they could add the like a ability to, instead of placing down cooling towers, maybe place down a separate building that was a pond or something like that, or like a storage of water or something. I think that would be a neat wee different way of doing it. So what we'll do is put our nuclear power plant in there. We'll need a uranium conversion plant, which will turn that uranium oxide into the molecules, but it'll probably be easier if we put down this first. So this will turn the UF6 into nuclear fuel. So we'll put this here. We'll actually put it like that. Wellway. Decisions. Yes, we'll put it like that. And then we'll put our uranium conversion plant and make sure it's lined up, which it is. Put our uranium conversion plant in. See if we can. That's it, hooked up to there. And like that, maybe. But we'll also need to add in, if we can find it, we'll need to, because we're taking it out of these two open storages to essentially this processing plant here, we'll need to have a warehouse and an open storage, and we'll basically need to drop off that uranium oxide into this plant directly. So we'll have that there, and we'll just have a basic train line that takes that down. And we also need a warehouse. Now we need the warehouse for the chemicals. We wouldn't necessarily need to do this. You could import the chemicals directly to the buildings, but eventually we will be adding a chemical industry to it once we get it. So what I'll do is I'll use the warehouse essentially as the place where we'll import the goods, and then after we will hook up a train line to it, which will drop off the chemicals from our own industry. For that though, we will need to add forklifts, because we need to add it to this building and to this building, and between there and a warehouse is just too long a distance. So we'll need forklifts for that. So we'll need to hook up these, and that will actually hook up beautifully. Unfortunately, I can't hook up a nuclear power plant as well, but I don't need to, so what we'll do is we'll hook it up like that, smashing. Then we'll need a forklift garage to store our forklifts. Fancy that. We'll set that about there. And then we'll need our warehouse. If we spin that around, line that up, perfect. Now can we hook that up? We can hook up there, but that looks horrific. Maybe if we put a crossing in it, maybe. Crossing there. Delete that. What about this? What if 2 crossings in? We'll do 2 crossings. Like I say, we'll try and make this as pretty as possible. There we go. There we go. That brings our warehouse down to where we want it to be. And then we will add in our roads. Put these traffic lighted, because everything's going to be lit up in the nuclear power plant site. Take that along there. I'll hook that up just basically the now. But what I'll do, we need to put in the cooling towers, but what I'll do is I'll let that build up for just now. Some of that won't build up fully because it was built with dollars and I think we're going to run out. But that's going to be the basic layout of our nuclear power plant. What we'll do is we'll add in, because this Rozbanje won't be enough people to work at these facilities and these facilities. We'll increase the size of this town, and when we eventually take this place over to this direction, once we grow over here, because this is hopefully going to be massive, we will have buses that'll drop them off at the front gate. Just takes a minute for that. Fast forward. How long do we take? 4,000 days. Takes a while to build nuclear power plants. A while and a lot of money. Now you can see down here our forklift garage has been built, which doesn't have power supply. We're going to need to hook that up. We are importing fuel for them just now. And we'll also need to buy, not that, we'll also need to buy forklifts, so we'll just get 4 of them, bad boys. You can also get ones from NATO, but that is horrible capitalist scum rubbish, which we won't touch. That's our 4 forklifts in. We will need to import chemicals to here, into this warehouse, so we will take 24 tons of that, just the lowest amount we can, and approve the purchase. That will then constantly keep this warehouse topped up with chemicals to 24 tons until we tell them otherwise. This power plant's now stopped because we ran out of rubles. We'll cancel that. Ran out of dollars, sorry, and we'll finish it with rubles. Same with this place. And that's all our dollars gone. We've got 120 quid left in the bank in dollars, and that's probably all the dollars we're ever going to have in this game, so or in this playthrough. So now that that warehouse has got chemicals, now we need to set up an order for the forklifts to basically drop them off at both the conversion plant and the fuel fabrication, because they both require chemicals in the process. So we'll go to the garage, manage forklift tasks, we'll take them from there, drop it off there, and I think we can just do that as well, where we can load that, not load there, unload, there we go, and unload there. Now I have noticed, which is really strange, you can't select on the fuel fabrication to unload the chemicals, but it works. You can see he's going in there, dumping them out. Don't know why, it works, we'll just ignore it. Well, there goes our wee forklifts. Dumping all the stuff, and every time they take 24 chemicals out, dump it into these places. They'll fill it up to 9 tons, in each place. And they'll stop then and just top it up when needed. Now, if you go to import of resources now, you can see that we have imported 30 tons of chemicals at $50,000. So it's expensive when you don't produce it yourself, and steel is expensive if you don't produce it yourself. But I'm happy to build this nuclear power plant with rubles, because if we built this actually with workers and resources, it would take a long time, but we would do it for free. So I'm happy doing this just now. But now that all that is set up, we will essentially need to then connect it up to these 2 rail lines. We'll need to connect it to here, connect all those rail lines, because I like having everything on an integrated rail network rather than just isolated rail lines everywhere, because it just seems a bit daft. We'll connect all these rail lines together. This is already looking like a nice wee complex. We'll put our cooling towers in. We'll put transport hubs in to feed workers to these places, and we'll build up the town of Prosbanye. But that is the end of this episode, part 1, and I'll see you next time. It's been a pleasure. Thanks very much. Catch.